Look at the picture. See the skull. Visible Frankenstein controls. The Brain Thoughts Broadcasting Radio. The Frankenstein Earphone Radio. The latest new skull reforming to contain all Frankenstein controls.
Frankenstein Control is brought to you this week by Pit Bulls. That's right, Pit Bulls. No jokes this time. They're just a really misunderstood breed. They're normal dogs. You'd be surprised. A lot of them just need good homes. We've been fostering some, and, well, you know, it's going up. Oh, God! Oh, God! Ah! Ah!
Ironically, that was our golden retriever. The one in the bunch. All these pit bulls, they're fine. Yep. They're so quiet.
It's the golden retriever. He was the ringleader there.
It was Goldie giving all the. It was Shadow from Homeward Bound telling Max to rip that child's face off.
Oh, Shadow! I actually had some friends. It was Luke's cousins.
Oh my God! I forgot about that.
They had a golden retriever when we were the age we were when that movie came out. They got a golden retriever and named it Shadow.
Oh, did he die in the mud but then came back so everything was okay?
I think it was a girl, and the only thing I ever remember Shadow doing was when I was over at their house one time, we had those Little Debbie's coffee cake things. I forget what they're called, but they're like
ski-doos.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Cosmic brownies?
Sort of, but just what they were is not really.
Folgers crystals.
They were just like they had a box of those, and we were gonna eat them, and we put them on the table, and we left the room for a minute.
Oh, no.
We came back, and she was eating all of them, and it like torn into the package, and was just like, you know, on her hind legs on a chair, just gorging on them on the table, and their mom got really mad.
Yeah. Did the dog survive the chocolate?
It wasn't chocolate. It was like, they're like these coffee cake things that they do that
I think I know what you're talking about.
I personally didn't really like them when I was a kid, but I might like them now. I haven't had one in probably 20 years.
Yeah.
But
I mean, when's the last time any of us were arsed to like go into the Little Debbie aisle and be like,
Ooh, zebra cakes.
Oh, fuck yeah, zebra cakes.
A Hostess Snowball.
Zebra cakes ain't nothing to fuck with. I love those things.
That's true.
Welcome to Frankenstein Control. Today, I am your host with the most on, oh shit, I did that joke last week.
Yep.
Start the episode over!
No.
Welcome to Frankenstein Control. I'm Taylor Russell. To my left, as always, the enigmatic, the fantastic
Adam Ship. I live in a basement and subsist entirely on rat flesh.
Ugh.
It's delicious.
That's true.
I do this by choice.
And straight ahead,
I'm B-Rye. I'm a Halloween decoration that everybody forgot to put away.
And of course, I am the 600-pound man who still manages to breastfeed himself.
I thought you were a gorilla.
Well, I mean, I had to start somewhere.
Okay.
I was a gorilla, a 400-pound gorilla. I evolved into a human.
Like a Pokemon?
Like a Pokemon.
Okay.
And through that process, I got a desk job and subsisted off a diet of, like, Hostess coffee cakes. And suddenly I became 600 pounds.
We have to change your registration with Fairfax County. You're registered as an exotic animal, and it actually costs like $600 to re-up that every 6 months. And so if you could take that burden, that financial burden off my fucking shoulders, man, that would be appreciated.
I'm sorry, dude. It's just the way I am, all right? I won't be
You have a better job than me. Why didn't you register yourself?
I won't be gorilla shamed. Even though I'm a human now.
Because gorillas are second-class citizens in this economy.
Going back a bit, speaking of dangerous dogs, did I ever tell you guys about the insane asylum dog?
No.
In the insane asylum you spent your childhood in?
No, the insane asylum dog. So, at the office, there is a bit of wall art that's hanging up. And it's like artsy and meant to be cute and cool. And it's this dog. And whoever the artist was, they did a series of these works, where they took an old map. I think it's like an old it's like an old atlas map of like a city. I want to say like it's either like New York or L.A. And it's like historical looking aged maps, artfully cut up and layered upon one another to sort of make an image of a larger picture. And so like when you're far away, you see that it's like a puppy.
Yeah.
And you get up close and you realize, oh, it's made of maps. The problem is, upon closer inspection, that the font size on the old map they used is really small, and the only words on the map that are legible is a giant square in the center of the puppy labeled Insane Asylum. Oh, and then like up by the dog's head, there's like a cemetery. And so there's just like this cute puppy that's meant to like, be a nice bit of wall art, and it just says Insane Asylum and Cemetery on there.
Oh, that reminds me, I should probably change that Christmas present I was going to give my grandma. I had the same thing, a picture of her and a map, and it just says Stalingrad in huge Comic Sans letters, so I should probably fix that.
You don't want to give her PTSD flashbacks to when she was a female sniper in the USSR, the People's Red Army.
You've been playing that American Sniper, the video game, the movie, the game too much.
Yep.
What's it called?
Sniper Elite 4.
Ah, that's the one.
So there have been 3 before it?
Yeah. I actually almost got 3 because you fight the Afrika Korps in that one. That's the branch of the Wehrmacht that went to North Africa.
Oh.
Rommel was them. Rommel was them.
Oh.
That is the way I'm choosing to phrase that.
All of them were Rommel.
I read his book,
Rommel.
The Magnificent Bastard.
Yes, and Erwin Rommel, and the Afrika Korps were just the branch of the German army that invaded North Africa, and we fought them over there as well. And it's sort of like interesting to me from a historical point of view because that's like a part of the war that doesn't get talked about a lot. It's always like D-Day France,
Yeah. Germany,
bomb, atomic bomb, white guilt, and you should feel terrible for the Nice and the atomic bomb, and yes, we should, but still.
Do you think are you gonna buy the Are you gonna buy the DC area Arlington Fairfax County DLC for the sniper game?
Oh, takes place fast forward to around 2002 or 3.
A little bit of a jump. Is that too soon? I lived through it. That's how
I lived through it too.
That's why I think I could be justified in even mentioning it.
A friend of mine from
oh my god.
A friend of mine from the community college, and when I went to UMBC, she went to the middle school where the kid that got shot was shot.
Holy fuck!
And she knew him, kind of. And like every year, the school did a like honoring his bravery for surviving that thing that happened to him.
Yeah.
And like they'd have an assembly, and he'd go up on stage, and they gave him like a little award for not dying. And I
mean, if you're gonna get an award,
according to her, he was kind of an ass.
Oh. He wears his sniper injury on his laurels.
I mean, if you're a kid and a horrible thing like that happens to you, and you're the center of attention for the worst possible reason, it's gonna fuck you up.
Yeah.
So I think if he was a jerk, I kind of think in retrospect he deserved to be. I just hope he's a functional and okay person now.
Yeah.
Sniper victim kid, if you're listening to this and you're in your mid-20s like we are, I hope you're doing okay.
Oh yeah.
Maybe don't buy Sniper Elite 4.
Yeah, don't do that.
You don't want to play that game.
Adam, you were living down south when all that shit was going down.
In Richmond.
Yeah.
And we still got off of school for a couple days.
Wow.
We got off of school like intermittently, like on and off for a couple weeks, I want to feel like, until they caught him.
Really?
Because everyone was worried that he was just going to start doing that all over the place, because we were ground zero for that whole thing.
Doing bell tower rampages.
Mm-hmm.
This has a portable bell tower he floats around in.
Kids used to, I mean, I'm not even kidding, kids would like go to the bus stop like serpentine.
Oh.
Like that's a thing that happened in my neighborhood. We did that.
But you get to the bus stop
and then
what?
stop.
Yeah.
I really wanted to get a T-shirt with a bullseye on it.
Oh my god.
I was like 13, and I thought it would have been funny,
Oh.
and my mom wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Serpentine!
This was like long before Vines were a thing,
Yeah.
but we wanted to do a similar style thing where we just recorded ourselves walking and getting hit with Steven's paintball gun, but with red paint in it.
Oh my god! Jesus!
Maybe it was Joey who had the paintball gun. One of them had a paintball gun. Steven had a lot of real-looking airsoft guns that he would, once we were over the age of 21, every time he came over to my house, he would make sure the neighbors saw him exit his van with... he had to have aviator sunglasses on, a large container of alcohol in one hand, and a very visible, real-looking gun in the other. And then he'd be like, "Hey, B-Ride!"
That reminds me of the time. Steven, by the way, is a mutual friend of all of ours. He's been friends with B-Ride the longest.
Kindergarten.
Man, you've known lots of peeps since
I've
kindergarten.
known him for 20 years.
Jesus.
He's been one of my best bros.
But that reminds me of the time that Steven came over to my house and we all piled up, and then I had the Mountaineer, and we all piled up in the Mountaineer driving, and Steven was in the back seat, and I look at the rear view mirror, and he ducks out of my rear view for a sec. I'm like, what's he doing? And then he comes back up with a revolver. I'm like, what the fuck is that, Steven? And he goes, I found it in the seat. And I'm like, excuse me. And he like pointed the barrel at the rear view, and I saw that the hole was too small for it to actually be like a gun. Yeah. And then I remembered, oh wait, my dad found an old pellet gun at one of my grandparents' house, and I guess I put it in my car and forgot about it.
He broke it that very same night.
He did. He broke my pellet gun.
It's another thing that Steven's getting a lot of shout outs in this episode. He's comedically known for, at least he used to be known for breaking a lot of things involuntarily. He would just,
of course,
if you lent him or let him hold anything, he would break it. And things would cease to function under his care.
Under his iron fist.
I lent him a pair of sunglasses for youth and a Malcolm Reynolds costume for Otakon one year, and when I asked for them back, he informed me that they'd broken. And Steven, like, you had that pellet gun. That was also the night where we piled up all the alcohol for the party on the table and put the gun next to it and took a picture.
Oh, you forgot all the dollar bills in our wallets, too.
Yeah.
We just took the most ludicrous fucking picture we could.
And then I think that was the time we played Liar's Dice and all the games from Red Dead while drunk.
Oh, that was a good night.
And then, yeah, Steven was probably trying to do John Marston whirly gun tricks, and he dropped the pellet gun and shattered the hammer.
He dropped it with Miss McFarlane. Dude, speaking of friendly hijinks, I wanted to just regale the viewers with our experience at CC's Pizza the other day, and a classic Adam moment.
Yep.
Where so there's one thing y'all don't know about our group. It's that Adam, despite his diminutive size...
Diminutive?
You're a puppet.
Yes, I am a puppet.
He's eensy-weensy, like a spider, but
when
not...
you were hollow, that's maybe how you can do it.
Not as personable. But I shit y'all not. I'm the fattest person in the room, and Adam can eat twice what I can if we go to CC's Pizza. It is truly terrifying to behold. Just...
The children run and scream from me.
They do. They absolutely do. There's no way to describe it other than Adam's basically a sarlacc pit of pepperoni.
The employees put caution tape around our table so no one gets hurt. Within the frenzy.
And so Adam piles it high. He piles up fat stacks when he puts the pizza on his plate. And he had 4 or 5 plates stacked to the sky of pizza. And by plate,
we were all full and kind of ready to leave, and we couldn't leave because he kept getting more food.
Yep.
And
4 or 5 times.
And so Adam finishes up one plate.
I finish up my second big plate, and then I get up and come back with a third, also huge plate. And B-Ride just looks at me and is like, Jesus Christ! And I sit down and quietly say, I'm above you.
And it was so fucking out of nowhere. God, Adam, why you fucking eating so much? I'm above you. And he proceeded to eat 2 more plates of pizza and like probably a child.
Yeah.
Your pizza proficiency has surpassed my own.
I get a +2 to all pizza-based rolls.
Yep.
Including pizza rolls.
Yes.
And you do not fat roll.
Which is astounding.
Yep. Thank you, Havel's Ring.
You have Havel's ring, and that's why you're able to eat a tremendous amount of pizza.
Yeah, if you take off the ring, you're just going to be like this big fat dude.
Yeah, I'll just balloon out until like 300, 600 pounds.
300, 600, dude. If you take off that ring, you will fill this entire room floor to ceiling with fat.
And then to mix our RPGs, once that happens, it says you are over encumbered.
Cannot run. Dude, I think that should be a mod in Oblivion or something where your character gets so over encumbered, but if you gain a skill, you can roll. Just like flat out, just down a mountain.
Just snowball everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And
Your character's fat.
Pick up any grass or butterflies that you drag past, adding it into your inventory.
you essentially become a Katamari.
Just as long as there's part of the code of that mod disables an active nude mod.
What?
No, a nude mod is mandatory.
No!
It also adds a furry mod, just because that's the people that like inflation the most. We got to get all our bases covered.
I suppose we do.
No, we don't. We don't ever. Please, God, no. No, please, God, no! No! Sorry, I saw that earlier today.
Yeah.
I had a good laugh.
What is that from?
Office.
Yes, The Office.
Michael Scott hates, I think it was Toby. It was a guy that worked there that was just this normal average guy
And he hates him for some reason.
He hates him because he's not fun enough. And I guess he quits and then he comes back and they're like, Toby's back. And I was like, no, God, please, no.
He's really surprisingly and unreasonably angry about it.
Yeah. If I were locked in a room with Hitler, Stalin, and Toby, and
I'd shoot Toby twice.
Yeah, and a gun with 2 bullets, I'd shoot Toby twice.
I don't watch much of The Office, but that's a fairly good argument for it. That's pretty good. I'd shoot Toby twice.
A coworker of mine and I were talking about just burial methods today of dead people. I don't remember why. It was a morbid subject, and we were talking about it before lunch, which is why we stopped talking about it.
You don't like talking about corpses while you eat?
No.
Corpses while you eat.
But I did get to sort of use the, when I'm dead, just throw me in the trash.
For anyone not in the know, that is a classic staple quote from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Good old Frank.
Good old Frank, Danny DeVito's character. What's the context?
They're in a cemetery, aren't they?
Yeah.
All this, Charlie, I don't need all of this. I always, anytime I impersonate Frank, I always just assume that he's talking to Charlie, even though he frequently interacts with the other characters just as much.
Yeah.
I don't need all this. I don't need this fanfare. When I die, just throw me in the trash.
I think they're visiting his wife's grave.
Oh.
And,
the whore?
Yeah. His whore wife.
You and your whore mother.
And, like, they're trying to get him to, be a better person. And he's like, this is where you're gonna end up. You're gonna end up dead in the ground if you don't pick up your act. He's like, I don't need any of this. When I'm dead, just throw my body in the trash.
I talked a lot about death with my dad this last weekend because we had to go over Will's stuff. My dad's fine. It's just they'd been putting it off and everybody dies and they're like, well, better prepared, right? I'm like, okay.
They're looking forward to it now.
But then
I'm leaving
conversation,
everything to my guns.
But
and Merlin.
Merlin is my uncle's dog.
I know.
Oh, okay.
That makes it even funnier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, yes. They're leaving it all to Shadow, the fictional golden retriever from Homeward Bound.
Yeah.
We started talking. Me, my brother Brian, and my dad. Our conversation sort of spiraled into what we want done with our bodies when we're all dead.
Uh-huh.
And Dad's like, I'm just gonna get cremated. I'll let my kids sort out what happens to me. I mean, I'll be dead. And I'm like, Dad, I got the perfect idea. And he's like, what's that? I said, I'll custom load you into some shotgun shells. And then just shoot wildly in the night on like 4th of July. And he's like, 4th of July? Just put me in some fireworks, dude. I'm like, ooh, man, that sounds awesome. I want to. Who else could say on 4th of July I blew up my dad?
Quite a few, if you can believe the statistics. They at least blew off their fingers. What?
That made me remember. Sorry. That made me remember the story about the guy who played Gaston. B-Rye, how does that story go?
It's actually sad because it really happened.
Yeah. I know, but
the guy who played Gaston.
Like the performer.
The performer, yeah.
Not the actor from the movie.
No, yeah.
But like the guy who performed.
The live action, probably one of the, because they almost certainly have understudies and numerous people, but.
There's 2 Disney Worlds.
Yeah.
Disney World and Disneyland.
One of the live action performers who portrays Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, put a firework on his head. And they don't know why he did it, or it was like a bet, or he was drunk, or... Because
Gaston's whole deal is that he's, like, trying to show everybody up and be this huge spectacle. So he's like, this will be cool! And then he dies.
And it killed him. It blew his head off.
So, like, when you say put a firework on his head...
The thing is that, like, in reality...
What are we talking about here?
I think... I don't really
Did he, like,
know.
have, like... Did he, like, put a mortar in a... Did he put a shell in a mortar and then put the mortar on his head like a top hat?
Probably. Yeah, I don't know the actual...
Or are we talking like he just like put an M80 on his dome and just said, no one dies like Gaston.
No one fries like Gaston.
or blasts bits of him into the sky like Gaston. I'm going to hell for that one.
But, okay, so what...
No, I just made myself laugh because... In reality, like, he was at, like, a family barbecue or something.
Oh, man.
A friend's house.
Oh, that's suddenly uncool.
This is horrible. Like, make no mistake, we're joking about things that actually happened to someone and killed them, and that's terrible. And that's a disclaimer that we're putting on here. We don't actually think it's funny that this person died.
It's just the extremeness of the situation warrants a kind of, like, a glazed over, we have to laugh about this because... That could be us
if we're stupid
enough. Or else it will destroy us.
Oh, yes, or else it will destroy us.
We have a high risk of this kind of thing happening to us because we are stupid.
Yes.
And we mess around with real swords and and firearms and
cut towards ourselves when we're building Gundams.
Yes. These are all ways we've injured ourselves for real.
But okay, the reason why I was laughing so hard though was because that story reminded me. Didn't he also, like, was it also reported that he, like, part-time dressed in the Goofy costume?
Yes.
So the firework goes off and he just goes,
and he's just like the spiraling cartwheel with the smoke trail following him into the air. I made myself laugh because when I was like picturing the event happening, rather than him being in like a t-shirt or something you would wear to a family, like dressed normally like you would be when you go to your family's house, I pictured him dressed like Gaston.
Well, that's how I visit my family anyway, so that's not a big stretch of the imagination. Oh. It is a big stretch of the costume, though, I'll tell you that much.
No one eats like Gaston. No one gains weight like Gaston.
No one sits home alone and masturbates like Gaston. Welcome to Frankenstein Control, where we joke about people dying.
And then there was the whole thing about that firework factory that exploded in Mexico.
God, is it too soon for this?
It might be a little too soon. And a lot of people. This is especially not funny because a lot of people died.
Yeah.
And
like that shit was ridiculously high body count.
20-something people at least died from that.
That's a big. That's a big number.
But I have
a full Gacy.
It's almost a full Gacy. It really is.
Ah.
It's certainly a Corona. Juan Corona, the Mexican serial killer who macheted like 20-some men to death.
And his name was Corona?
Juan Corona.
Okay, first off.
He's still alive, too. He's in jail.
And he only had one?
That was me smacking at him in his stupid puppet mouth.
I will say, Corona is just a cool name in general when you consider, like, when you see a solar eclipse, the cool ring, the dark side that happens in the sky.
Yeah.
That's called the Corona.
It literally means crown.
Oh!
That's the word for crown.
Okay.
That makes a lot more sense. And I sound a lot more stupid. Go on, B-Right, with your story.
But yeah, well, first I'll finish the bit about Juan Corona. He macheted...
Juan Corona. Ah! No! Stop hitting me! Ah! Ah!
He macheted a bunch of people to death and buried them in shallow graves on fruit plantations in California.
Mm.
And they caught him because one of his victims... He killed people he hired as, like, temp workers.
Yeah.
And then after they'd worked enough for him, he'd machete them to death. And they found, like, a receipt from something that he bought and paid for in one of their pockets, which was dumb.
Yeah.
But, anyhow, why the hell did I really start? Oh, the Mexican firework factory.
Yeah.
Before I knew about the body count... And before I, like, saw the actual horrible pictures of people screaming and crying and, you know, the kind of things that make you realize this was a human tragedy, I have to confess, I laughed really hard because all I saw was the headline, Mexican fireworks factory, well-known Mexican fireworks factory explodes, and the photo of the huge smoke plume with, like, brightly colored orange and purple in the middle of the day. And something about... I don't... like...
The twisted part of your mind.
Well, no, just it was also the thing of, like, you know, growing up our whole lives, it's like, oh... So-and-so's dad went and got Mexican fireworks for 4th of July. It's going to be awesome. And, you know, be careful with those Mexican fireworks. You know, they're going to blow your thumb off. And, you know, it's always the trope here is just, you know, those Mexican fireworks are dangerous. I don't want you going over to someone's house if they have those Mexican fireworks. And then when there's something about Mexican fireworks being dangerous to Mexicans in their own country.
Oh my God.
That's horrible. I know I'm a horrible human being, and that's just me trying to make comedy out of it so I won't feel sad, because people did die, and that's horrible. And none of those workers deserved to have that happen to them. It was like an industrial failure.
Yeah.
But I have to, like, cope with it somehow. And my jaded... sociopathic persona. That's not the right word for it.
Fursona.
Yeah,
no,
fursona.
We'll go with that. My fursona is just that I interpret, or I cope with the knowledge of all the horrible things that happen in the world and all the pain and all the suffering. The way I'm able to accept that happens and I can't do anything about it or help anyone or save anyone. The way I make myself not feel despondent about that is to make jokes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Otherwise, you would crumble under the crippling weight of your actual, like, concern for these people.
Yeah.
And then also all the other people. And then also all the other people in the world. Because there's just non-stop suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you made that fake news article headline. What was it?
Oh, it was, Mexican fireworks factory explodes, collectively blows entire country's thumb off.
Was that The Onion or yours?
That was me.
That was you. Wow. That's really good.
It's so fucked up. Ah! And then, you know what? Not even, like, this has to do with any firework factory explosion. It's just kind of like, in terms of ways of factory explosions to be killed by, I think firework factory explosion has to be one of the top tier ones. Just because, like...
Just the idea that they're made in a factory is a little surprising when you think about it.
Yeah, like every firework thing you see on TV and stuff like that, it's always the guys who make, like, the custom huge shells that burst open at, like baseball games and monster truck rallies.
You forget that the little ones are mass-produced
Yes.
in a factory by underpaid workers.
And also, I would love to point out really quick that, like, those Mexican cheapo bootleg fireworks, better look out. When, like, pretty much every firework is a bootleg firework. Just no matter where they come from, there's just always a significant risk that you're just going to Gaston yourself.
Yeah. That's why I generally don't mess with them. I remember on the episode of Idiot Abroad when they send Carl Pilkington to Mexico, they make him go to a fireworks festival, and it's just like a street festival. And, you know, he meets all these people, and they're
That's the
really
best
cool.
kind.
And it is. And it honestly looks like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But he's meeting up with, his contact there is this Mexican guy, and he's, like, showing him the town and showing him where they make the fireworks. And, you know, here's where we're getting ready for the festival, and this is... some old man who's like the best fireworks maker in the village, and all the children come to see him for their fireworks for the festival. And like the guy's missing an eye and a bunch of fingers. And Carl comments on that.
Oh no!
He's a demo man.
He's a demo man.
He just shows up. Carl Pilkington! You think you're so mamby-pamby with your far-off British? Why? I'm not drunk off the... He just passes out.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but I just wanted an excuse to do a demo man impression.
The impression was good.
Thanks, man. I wish I had actual things to say instead of just gibberish.
I've been quoting the Sniper a lot in my head as I play
I can like that early, too.
It's like Christmas morning.
And I think his mate saw me. Yep, he did.
It's good work. It's out of doors.
The one's a job and the other's a mental sickness.
I'm
not a crazed gunman, Dad.
That's what I have to tell my dad weekly.
I'm not a crazed gunman, Dad.
You know, he wouldn't think that about you if you didn't just always wear a t-shirt that says, I'm a crazed gunman on it.
Oh, that's true.
Kind of sends mixed messages.
Well, you see, it's a Gurren Lagann t-shirt. I'm a crazed gunman. But
Also,
he just doesn't get it.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask why every time you claim to be going out for your jog or your run or your workout, why I just see you go outside and just go down the street on a Segway with a Kalashnikov and no shirt on.
Dang it, I've been found out. Okay, so did the Segway guy die on a Segway?
It wasn't. It was a major stockholder in the company. It wasn't the guy who invented them.
Oh, okay. Where's he at?
Yeah, that did happen. The guy who invented them,
He got run over by a Segway.
yeah, he died of Segway cancer.
We're going to have to remove your Segway. You'll never move swiftly into one topic to another again.
Yes. Oh, speaking of, it's this time of the night that I... Well, actually, I got no segue for that. In fact, I wanted to talk more about Segways just because ever since the Segway came out, I've always had a plan that if I ever lost both of my legs, I want the bottom half of a Segway grafted to the bottom of my body.
Your bunny.
The bottom of my bunny and my body. So I can look like Gizmo Duck.
Oh, man.
Or Mettaton.
Oh, that's right. Except I won't be able to evolve into my final form because, that's the one criterion for being Mettaton EX
nice legs.
is to have nice legs or legs in general. Really.
Yeah.
You can just have your gross severed torso that ends at the waist fitted into some kind of harness on the Segway, and then a couple of pretty mannequin legs just crudely duct taped to the side of you that just sort of drag and rattle.
Oh, and then you can hook them up. You can hook the heels up to parts of the wheels, so it kind of looks like a wind-up toy where the feet move up and down with the rolling of the wheels.
Or get some of those Halloween decorations that are like the accordion tissue paper with the legs stapled at the bottom. And just staple those to your torso so they can dangle along as you roll.
I might as well get one of those bats too. You go.
We had a weird jack-o' that did that. It was like a little windsock jack-o'-lantern. It's funny, the word windsock.
No, it reminds me of a thing that my family had. So my mom, when I was a youth, my mom bought this candy bowl that was motion activated, and it would like the candy bowl was like your standard plastic candy bowl made to look like wrought iron, and then at the head of the bowl was this big tombstone with like the Grim Reaper like looking over it. Yeah. And when you stood in front of it, it was like, ha 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 ha, I am the Grim Reaper, ha ha. But the thing that makes me laugh is that like directly after he said that, it went into this cavalcade, this just utter chaos of Halloween sound effects. So it made me laugh every time because it's like, ha 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 ha, I am the Grim Reaper, ha 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 ha. And oh, and always the thing that made me laugh was there was some in the middle of it all. It's like there was always a guy that goes, and just like it because it was a cheap Party City thing, the sound quality was really low too.
Yeah,
of course.
So it was all.
That's the best part.
Also, I saw that scream I just did on the capture. That does not look good. I'm sorry, everyone at home.
On the topic of Halloween sound effects, I remember this one weekend where, or rather a day, I'll tell you what day it was later, when my younger brother and I just spent the day listening to a cassette tape that was all Halloween sound effects.
Like jamming to it while you're cruising in the car?
No, we were like 8 or something. Like we were pretty young, before Game Boys, that young. And we were just sitting around listening to all the spooky ambience and skeleton noises. But we were doing it on Easter. Like, we didn't get punished over this, but my very Christian mom was a little upset at us listening to Halloween stuff on Easter. On this day of the Lord.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I once stayed the night at my friend's house, my buddy Joey, and I think he's the guy who had the paintball gun from the earlier story about the sniper. And his mom did that thing where, like, you could spend the night, it's Saturday night, but we're going to church in the morning, and if you spend the night, you got to come with us. So I was like, okay. And I went to their church with them. It was a normal church. I mean, they didn't go to like a weird church with like snake handling or anything like that. It was just like a normal Christian center church. You know, they sat all of us kids around, and there was a bunch of kids I didn't know, and, you know, I was just trying to sit next to Joey. And they gave us like paper to draw on and crayons and colored pencils and stuff, and they said, like, draw what inspires you, draw what you like.
Oh no.
And I drew Isengard. The Tower of Orthanc, and I did a pretty damn good job, if I do say so myself. And it's just this evil-looking black tower, and I'm just happily drawing it in a church. And I think the lady who taught us like, well, what's that? And I was like, it's Isengard. The Uruk-hai come from here. They're spawned in the birthing pits and locked into cruel, painful plate armor from the day of their birth.
Just like humans.
Yep.
I have a similar story in beginning to yours, where I was staying over at my cousin's house for the night, and they were going to do the same thing with the if you're staying over, you got to go to church with us in the morning. And I think they went to a Catholic church, which was weird in comparison to what I was growing up with.
Uh-huh.
But that night, it snowed really heavily, so we didn't have to go, and I was so happy. And instead, we went. My aunt's boyfriend took us to do donuts in a Food Lion parking lot.
I mean, that's the same thing as going to Catholic Mass, honestly.
No, that's a Catholic funeral.
Oh.
Did I ever tell you about the time when we did donuts in FBM's car in the parking lot of the school we weren't supposed to be at.
No.
And I was in the trunk eating donuts.
No! Never told me about that.
Yeah, that's the thing that happened. It was just one of the nights when we would hang out. Our favorite thing to do was we get the whole crew together. Me and Copernicus and FBM and Don and our buddy Dornold, and we just drive around our town at night. No drinking or drugs or anything like that. We didn't do any of that.
None of that carousal.
We just tell stories and listen to the Silent Hill soundtrack or music from Ghost in the Shell or something. And we'd occasionally get food. And, one night I showed up and when they picked me up, they'd already gone to, like, Dunkin' Donuts. And they closed the place down and they had, like, 2 dozen donuts and they were just going to chuck them in the trash because that's what they do.
Yep.
And they were just like, you want them? And they were like, oh, yeah.
Trash donuts, why not?
Fuck yeah. And
they're my favorite flavor, free.
Exactly. And they were good donuts. And we ate so many that we were full of donuts. And FBM just started throwing donuts at us. And we went to the parking lot of this school. It was like an elementary school. And, I mean, keep in mind, it's like 11 at night.
Yeah.
And it's just pitch dark and there's nobody there. And it was just like a good place off the beaten path to go and hang out if you're not going to cause trouble, but you don't want to be seen by normies.
Yeah.
And
non-donut chucking people.
Yeah, and we had the donuts in the trunk, and FBM threw me in the trunk, and then I started eating the donuts because they were in the trunk with me. And I feel and hear the car start up, and then FBM's like, I want to do donuts! And I just feel the car doing... And I'm just eating donuts in the trunk while he's doing this. And then he stopped, and I got out and ate more donuts.
Did Exhibit ever show up? To tell you about how your dog heard you like donuts, so we put donuts in your donuts?
Yep. Nope, he did not. If he would have, FBM just would have thrown a bear claw at him.
A literal bear claw.
Just a severed bear's claw. Where did you get that? Out of my damn shirt.
Out of a bear.
FBM is the only person I've ever met who has actual cartoon hammer space in real life. Hammer space, if you don't know what the concept is, Taylor explains it better than I do.
It's that concept in cartoons and I guess video games to a degree where generally when a cartoon character who has no pockets or backpacks whatsoever pulls a giant mallet out from behind their back. It's commonly referred to as hammer space because it's the invisible alternate dimension where hammers are kept.
Yep, and FBM has that, but he was known for just carrying things stuffed down his shirt, and he just produced them at the opportune time. And he once walked up to the lunch table and reached down his shirt and then pulled out an entire 2x4 from shop class and just slammed it on the table in front of us. And that's a thing that happened.
Oh my god. You know, you guys basically lived in cartoon existence in your high school days. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. This is a 2x... You know, speaking of 2x4, that reminds me, tell the story about Grave in the car. Grave in the shop class car.
Oh! So...
I guess we need to introduce who Grave is now in this pantheon of people you knew in high school.
Grave is one of Kippa's best friends. He's probably the toughest person I've ever met. He is a Marine veteran from Afghanistan. He's not from Afghanistan. He fought in Afghanistan. He's just a really, really tough guy. And when he got back, he dealt with the things the war had put him through by really focusing a lot of his energy on bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. So as if he wasn't already tough enough, he then became the Mountain from Game of Thrones. And he's incredibly physically strong and just really tough, and he's known for being a badass, which is why FBM called him Grave. And we just have all these stories about him, and he's also very quiet. He's just a silent guy. He's a man of few words. When he has something to say, he'll say it. But when he doesn't, he speaks through his actions. And
oh, did he speak that day?
We had a guy in our shop class that FBM did not like. kind of arbitrarily, as was his wont. He was a little bit annoying, but to be honest, we didn't really know him. He was this bookish. He looked like a bookish cartoon nerd from any cartoon show ever. Like, there's a character. Yeah. He was slightly fatter than Mandark. To be honest, he looked more like Dexter than Mandark. But just,
Was he a foot tall?
No, he wasn't a foot tall. He was short, though.
Yeah.
He was like, 4 foot something. I mean, most people are short compared to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a freak of nature. But anyhow, we called this guy that fucker with glasses. That was what his name was. We would just refer to him as, never to his face, because we didn't have any actual conversations with him. We didn't know him. He was just a kid in our class, and we just referred to him as that fucker with glasses, because that's an apt description of him. Apt enough that we would know who we were referring to.
Yeah.
And he had kind of a nasally voice, and he talked like this, and we ended up appropriating that voice, or rather FBM's impression of that voice, into another character, which we may get into down the line. But for our purposes here, he was sort of a stickler for the rules in a way that got on people's nerves. And his catchphrase, so to speak, was, "Can't do that." And he'd go over to people who were working on the project that we had been assigned in shop class, and he'd be like, "Excuse me, you can't do that. That's against the, he'd like point out like on the worksheet that we were assigned, like
that's
where
not the regulation. That's 1 inch too wide."
Exactly, that exact kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he would just do that all the time for every project we were on. We also had like a classroom, and down the hall from the classroom was like the actual shop. So we'd do like the first part of class in like the class, and then we'd go down the hall to the actual building room. And he would he had like a huge backpack, and he would just run everywhere with this weird, awkward, like bent forward run, and like his heels never touched the ground. It was all on his toes, like a Morrowind character.
Was he running like a Sonic character?
Sort of, yeah. And he just did that for no reason.
Rolling around at the speed of no.
And so the most fun project we did in shop class was we made these Pine Box Derby. Is that what it's called? Pine Box Derby cars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or soapbox.
Soapbox Derby cars.
It's the same.
Well,
thing.
soapbox are you riding them?
Oh, really?
Oh, that's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we did this project where we got to make little cars like that, and we had like a launcher for them, and it was just really fucking rad that we actually got to design and build these little Pine Box Derby cars, and they could be completely our own design. We had full run of the wood shop. We could make them look however we wanted. We designed them first, and then we would build them and cut them to shape, and then we'd race them, and we'd also paint them and varnish them and all that, and we'd race them and see who's did the best.
Yeah.
And that fucker with glasses was actually pretty good at shop class, so he usually finished his projects first and then got into the business of what the people around him were doing. And be like, "You can't do that. Excuse me, you can't do that." And he left his car unattended while he was doing that one day, going around to people. And Grave, I guess, had enough of it. Grave was also in our shop class.
Wait, I thought FBM had something to do with it.
No, it was
Oh,
just,
really?
I think Grave just did it.
Oh, okay.
I think it was just Grave's idea, and he just got up and did it.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, so we're all just like, FBM's like, I can't stand that fucker with glasses. Oh, God, he's so annoying. It's really, really irritating how he just does that to people. And I guess, Grave hung out with us, sort of.
Mm.
We like to pretend that he did, because we wanted to be cool enough to have him to say that he was hanging out with us. He tolerated us. And so Grave quietly stops working on his own project, puts it down, stands up, silently walks across the room, walks past that fucker with glasses who doesn't even notice him because he's yelling at someone. Not yelling, but, doing his thing. Grave silently goes over, gets that fucker with glasses' little car that he was working on, saws the car in half, straight down the middle, so there's absolutely no repairing it at all. Walks back, puts it exactly where he found it, returns to his own work. And we all just sort of wait for him to notice. And finally, that fucker with glasses stops what he's doing and he goes back over to it. What? No! My vehicle! Who would do this?
my car or my pine box derby is no, my vehicle. My only mode of transportation.
I was gonna ride home on this.
How am I gonna get home? Speaking of getting home, one time when I actually was trying to get home from school, I was on the bus, and I think there was a lot of traffic with the buses, and I had gotten on the bus early, so there wasn't a lot of other kids on yet, and I heard the bus driver like, "Oh yeah, can I like take an alternate route to get out of the school because of all this traffic? I want to go out the back way." And there's just a delay, and then I hear over the radio, "Can't do that."
No way.
And I swear to God, that really happened, and I was like, "What? What?"
He's like, "Now I'll smash your vehicle."
And a giant, just twirling blade just hurls towards the bus, shreds it in half. It's like one of those old-timey bicycles with the massive front wheel.
The bone crushers. That's what those are called.
Those are called penny farthings, I think they're called.
Something.
Penny farthings.
That's some kind of old bike, but just one of those, but with
A saw
a
blade.
rotary blade just cutting through the ground,
Can't do that.
pedaling as hard as he can.
And many more high school rise stories are in our future, so stay tuned, folks at home, for more Frankenstein control action right after this.
Now even you know I am a menace. I hand you the secrets to save the entire human race and the entire universe.